Although there's still a present chill in the air, the sun's bright rays warm us as it glints off the impressive buildings. The people here are well dressed and pay no attention to us. They must be used to seeing those from out of town. As we venture further into town, I notice lots of people heading towards the center of the square and into a large structure. What do you guys think that building is over there? Amy glances at where I point and brightens up.
That is exactly where we need to be headed.
She speeds up, looking pleased. It seems like everyone else needs to be there too.
Is there an event going on? What exactly is in there?
But Amy is already out of earshot. We pick up pace to keep up. When we enter, I'm blown away by the sheer magnitude of the place. The main doors open into a hallway which splits off into adjoining wings. One is labeled the library. There is a conservatory and a cultural center too. The conservatory does not allow visitors, but the cultural center seems to be hosting some sort of exhibition, and that is where the crowd of people are filtering into. Leanna breathes out in wonder as she takes in the hall. Kara cranes her neck to get a better look at the library, while Zack watches the crowd. Amy turns towards us.
The library in Elendale is renowned for its collection of rare tomes. It is the largest library in Havengard. Since we are already aware the Wind Temple is in this vicinity, I hope that by cross-referencing the books in the library with the notes from Eldorissim, I will be able to narrow down their exact location.
Leanna nods.
Good idea. Do you need any help?
Amy shakes her head.
I am confident that I will discover the information we need sooner rather than later.
Kara grins.
You don't have to tell me twice. I've got some business of my own I'd like to take care of while we're here.
Zack narrows his eyes.
What kind of business?
Kara smiles sweetly.
I had no idea you took such an interest in me.
He crosses his arms.
I just want to make sure you aren't getting into trouble.
That doesn't sound like me.
Alright, why don't we all take some time to relax and explore Elendale, and meet back up here afterwards.
Everyone agrees and goes their separate ways. To my surprise, Kara follows Amy into the library. Zack and Leanna both move towards the exhibition and seem surprised by each other's choice. I take a closer look at the exhibition and see two signs. I guess the reason there's so many people here is because there are two exhibitions going on at once. One is on the illusions of the mind, and the other is about the heroes of Assaria. Leanna and Zack both walk towards the exhibit on illusions. So we'll stick with them for now. Illusions of the mind sounds like it could be interesting. Some of them are really clever. I enter the exhibit and catch up with Leanna and Zack. Hey guys! Zack nods.
Hey! I didn't know you liked illusions of the mind.
They can be fun. Leanna smiles and nods. The room is filled with different paintings and sculptures. People mill around each piece, squinting in concentration and quietly discussing. We decide to start at one end of the room and work our way down. The first piece is one I'm very familiar with. It's a 2D painting of colored spirals. Leanna gasps.
It looks like it's moving.
Zack nods in agreement. We move on to the next one. It's a drawing of an elephant, but something seems off. Both Leanna and Zack squint at it. It's missing a leg.
Yeah.
Zack leans closer.
Wait, no it isn't.
Leanna counts.
Only 4 legs, but there looks like there should be more.
This is confusing. We murmur in agreement as we move on. As we study the next image, my face turns bright red. Is that a naked woman?
Dancing figures.
Leanna nods. Really? That's what you see? The two of them give me strange glances.
Yes. What are you seeing?
A woman. They blink. Of the less than clothed variety. Leanna's cheeks turn pink as she studies the image.
What? Really? How?
Look, it's so obvious. She squints.
I don't see.
Leanna's eyes widen.
Maybe we should move on.
Her cheeks are flushed as she hurries on to the next image. I bet she finally saw it. We pass a few more images and both Zack and Leanna are in agreement of what they see in each one. They spot the old man and the old woman, or a woman image and they saw the swan in the rabbit or swan image. The old man and the old man are a woman in... Not sure if some of these are supposed to be real or not, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Every time they'd agree, they'd grin at each other, and sometimes they'd even share a glass as if they were in on a secret no one else knew. It's a bit uncanny how in sync they are with each other right now. Never seen them get along so well before, or Zack smiles so much at once. As we pause the next illusion, a man ponders the image thoughtfully. He wears a black robe with gold stripes, and a mess of blonde hair sits atop his head. His blue eyes squint intently at the image as he ponders the illusion.
All of these images hold so much meaning. They're the epitome of understanding that not everything is as it seems. If you change your perspective, you're told a completely different story. I see these images and I wonder what it is the artist is trying to share. Which story is theirs? The one that I see first, or the one I understand after further study? This piece has been especially interesting.
He turns to us.
Tell me, what do you see in this picture?
Leanna and Zack share a knowing look and grin.
It's obvious.
Yep,
They answer simultaneously.
faces.
Vases.
The two of them freeze, their eyes wide in shock.
You meant to say faces, right?
No, they're clearly vases.
No, they're faces.
Unless faces look like vases to you, you're very wrong.
So this is where I'd say it's a Fuyu Rinpa, but I'd probably get shot. Leanna shakes her head.
How could you have been so right about all the others and so wrong about this one?
Actually, in that last illusion, I didn't see a swan. I saw a rabbit!
Leanna gasps.
I trusted you.
I thought that was the only time, but I see now that you've been wrong this whole time.
You're the one who's wrong.
No, there's no need to...
Leanna and Zack glare at him.
Not now!
Leanna suddenly rests her gaze on me.
What do you see?
I see a way out of this. Later. Happy waifu, sisters before misters. Bros before hoes. So there's no way to escape, sadly. Sad part is there isn't really a good option here. Those are definitely faces. Zack sighs.
You're free to believe what you want, even if it's wrong.
She ignores his last comment, content with her win. The philosopher chimes in before the two of them can continue bickering.
Have you considered the possibility that you're both right?
Leanna and Zack stop arguing and look at him.
This illusion tells two independent stories, intertwined in a single piece of art. The precision, the illusion, wrapped in perfect symmetry. To understand another perspective instead of being rigid in one's own perception, that is the true intention.
Leanna and Zack nod slowly as if fully understanding and taking in what he said. Calm and pensive, they face each other again.
I guess it's possible that they're vases.
I'm glad your eyes are finally working.
What? You jerk! You're supposed to say you see faces!
Why would I agree with something wrong?
Their arguments resume and I sigh deeply. Not this again. My gaze wanders the room and I glance wistfully at all the other illusions, wishing we could move on. Hey, guys, let's move on. They don't hear me. Guys? Again, the two of them are too wrapped up in their argument to hear me. Seems like this is going to take a while. I guess I'll finish this exhibit on my own and check back in with them later. I notice I slip away from the group and finish up the tour. We need some sanity here. See what Kara is up to. Kara said she's going to take care of some business. In the library? Wonder what she's up to. I head into the library and find her among the shelves. Hey, Kara. She smiles.
Hey there.
Checking out the selection?
You could say that. I'm wondering if I have something that might interest them.
She pulls out the faded tome she found in the Earth Temple.
If this library is as extensive as Amy says, maybe they're looking to expand their collection.
Couldn't hurt to ask. I browse the books along the shelves. Looks like they got other old books in here too. She pulls out a book and inspects its cover, then grins as she puts it back.
They've got Arius texts.
Who are they?
The ancient civilization here. They're the people who would have built the Wind Temple. If they've got Arius tomes, then they're sure to be interested in what I've got.
Kara confidently approaches the librarian.
Perhaps you could assist me.
The librarian glances down his nose at Kara and sniffs disdainfully.
Perhaps.
Ignoring his haughtiness, Kara pulls out the book and places it in front of him.
Would you be interested in a Gaian text?
He leans closer to inspect it.
Where did you acquire this?
From one of the ruins. Unlike most of texts found, this one is very atypical. It's actually a children's book.
Surprise slips through his demeanor.
A children's book?
Kara carefully flips through the pages to show off the illustrations.
Yes, and you can tell it's Gaian based on the calligraphy.
She points to two different places on the page.
The Gaian's language didn't use punctuation, while the other ancient civilizations, such as the Uri, did. And the parchment itself is out of an animal hide, which is typical of Gaian culture.
Kara continues to spout more and more facts. The more she talks, the more impressed the librarian seems. By the end of her speech, his frown is replaced with an interested grin. He further inspects the book and then nods in satisfaction.
Fascinating. And you're hoping to donate it to our library?
Well, donate for a small fee.
Ah, of course.
He lists a number which Kara pleasantly counters. They go back and forth for a while before the librarian finally nods. The two of them disappear for a few moments before Kara returns with a small pouch. She grins as she safely tucks away her pouch. How'd it go?
Not bad. I was hoping I could get a little more, but I still ended up with more than the initial offer. That's a win in my book.
I can't help but be a little impressed. Must have shown on my face as Kara looked at me questioningly.
What is it?
So, this is the one that I'd normally say, but do I want to talk about the history? Let's just do what I would do for once. Nothing. You'll have to teach me your haggling skills one day. It would come in handy back in Bazada.
Speaking of haggling, why don't we go check out the shops?
Sure, it'll be nice to see more of the city. Kara and I leave the building and wander the cobbled streets until we come upon the marketplace. We browse a few of the storefronts. Kara mostly ignores the clothing shops and seems more interested in stores selling trinkets or antiques. While Kara peers through the window of the shop... The window of shop? Should that be a shop? I overhear a father and son talking in front of a sweet shop. The boy claps happily as his father hands him candy. His dad grins equally as wide.
I'm proud of you, son. Remember to keep up your studies. Maybe one day you can grow up to be a mage.
Thanks, Dad.
I recall my father's face and how he looked at me when I brought home my first A. He looked just as proud and happy as that man with his son. He took me out to ice cream as a reward and told me to keep my grades up. What is he doing now? Does he even know that I'm missing? A hand waves in front of my face.
Hello? Are you still there?
Kara looks concerned. Sorry, what's going on?
You okay there?
Well, we'll try to give you guys the full experience. Sorry, I saw that father and son over there and it just reminded me of home. My dad used to buy me ice cream as a reward for doing well in school when I was young. Kara's expression softens.
You never really talk about home. Sometimes it's hard to remember that everything is so up in the air for you. One minute you were living life as usual, and then in an instant all of that was ripped away and your life turned completely upside down.
Kara's voice increases as she talks. She seems to know exactly how I feel. Sounds like you've dealt with something similar. Kara looks surprised and laughs bitterly.
Nothing quite as extreme as being transported to another world.
But something did happen. She goes quiet. Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. It's just unexpected since you're always so confident. I got the impression you like traveling alone, and it's hard to imagine you'd be unable to handle yourself. Kara smiles softly.
I wasn't always like that. When I was young, I lived with my father in a big town. I went to school and gossiped with my friends and played with dolls just like every other little girl.
I can't imagine you playing with dolls. She laughs.
I love them. It's a bit embarrassing how many I had. My friends always liked to come to my house because I had all the popular dolls back in the day.
You realize I can't keep this information to myself, right?
Little girls like dolls. I'm not ashamed.
She's starting to sound a little more like herself again.
Anyway, sometimes things happen out of your control, and all you can do is roll with the punches. I'm sorry that you've been feeling alone, and that it's taken me so long to notice.
I don't feel so alone after talking to you. Kara grins mischievously.
You should save lines like that for Leanna.
Is that how Leanna feels? I'm not sure Leanna feels the same way. Kara chuckles and sighs.
If only you knew what she says about you behind closed doors.
What does she say? Kara just smiles and sighs again. Tell me. She winks.
You should ask her yourself.
She glances down the road.
Let's keep going.
I nod. We walk around for a while longer to explore the city. We eventually return to the library and exhibition hall and part ways. Let's view the exhibit on the heroes of Asaria. I decide to attend the exhibition to learn more about the history of Asaria. I follow the signs directing me into the heroes exhibit and see a broad wall within a large portrait of 5 people. Below the portrait is the text, Heroes of Asaria. There are a few historical items on display, safely preserved behind cubes of glass. I see a rusty sword was found at the site of the first battle. On the wall is some information about the War of Asaria. I begin reading. The War of Asaria began with the establishment of Void. Originally, shadow magic practitioners lived in harmony throughout the 3 kingdoms. A small faction became discontent with the status quo and abused the uses of shadow magic. As this faction grew, they became known as Void. They quickly turned into a dominant force and spread chaos throughout the kingdoms. The 3 kingdoms, Havengard, Vinea, and Kresimar, had been in a constant state of land wars with each other, pushing their borders and boundaries, and did not initially notice the rise of Void through the disarray. Void was free to ravage towns and cities within all 3 kingdoms, and the destruction was immense. It wasn't until the heroes of Asaria emerged from that the tide of war changed. Although originally divided, the 3 kingdoms realized they had to work together to stop Void, and they collectively supported the efforts of the heroes. With their help, Void was ultimately defeated. The kingdoms recognized that their wars helped carve the way for organizations like Void to grow, and they called a ceasefire. Together they established their borders and found peace. All 3 kingdoms agreed that shadow magic was too dangerous an element in bandits' use. Thus, the Treaty of Asaria was signed. Huh. I'd heard tidbits about the War of Asaria, but this helps me understand the severity of Void's reappearance. They must have really wreaked havoc among the 3 kingdoms. There's an excerpt on the heroes of Asaria as well. So, you might have seen pieces of the CG here and there, but this is your first chance to actually see it in full. As for what all this is a reference to, that I am not 100% sure on. The heroes of Asaria are the group of 5 people who banded together to defeat Void's operation. Although they came from different places in Asaria, they each had the same goal, to do whatever it took to protect their country and people. Ah, so that's Robin. And then XZ was the singer from Ace Academy. I don't know if these are supposed to be... Was this even on Kickstarter? Because I know they have a Patreon. I don't know, they might be characters. I don't know. Anyway, we'll start with XZ. XZ grew up in a small town in Vinea, but not much else is known about his past. Always wearing his classic smirk, he is known for his quick-witted jokes and cheery demeanor. But beneath his bright demeanor, he is a formidable mercenary known for the powerful fire augmentation and martial arts. A natural leader, XZ likes to tackle his problems head-on. It is not uncommon for him to be the first to run into battle. After the war, XZ returned to his hometown where he is honored as a hero. Isabelle Celine. Isabelle is a skilled archer from the desert dunes of Vinea. Living in the harsh climate of the desert forced her to grow up quickly. She had a natural proficiency with a bow, and it wasn't long before she became deadly accurate with her shots. Paired with her casting abilities, she is a dangerous opponent and a great asset to the team. She uses the environment to her advantage to target her enemies without being seen. Isabelle began tracking Void's operation at the start of the war and was one of the main reasons the heroes were able to quickly find Void encampments. After the war, Isabel disappeared. No one has been able to track her movements, but many say that where there may be shadow magic, Isabel will be there to deal justice. So, remember the Broodman stuff? Wait a minute. Tracking Void carries a bow? Could the woman Broodman talk to back in Wolfstein have been Isabel? Okay, they actually hit you over the head with that one. My eyes widen. I briefly met one of the heroes of Asaria. That's awesome. Odessa Redlone. This one. Odessa can always be spotted with her loyal pet mink, Maeva. She grew up in Havengard and was a proud student of the Mage Academy. She excelled in her studies and was always in the top of her class. Upon graduation, she was invited to join the Mage Guild. A skilled firecaster, it is of no surprise that she was selected to assist the guild during the battles against Void. Her magical proficiency and understanding of alchemy made her a valuable addition. After the war, she returned to her alma mater in Havengard, where she became a professor. Her expertise continues to shape the young minds of our future mages today. Rixney Lenti, this one, the guy with heterochromia. Rixney was a student at the Zelachek Academy in Kresimar, where he studied to become a mage. He learned to conjure weapons of pure ice as a specialty of frost magic. When the War of Asaria broke out, Rixney left the academy to join the fighting efforts against Void. Never one to think inside the box, he created and mastered a unique form of materializing weapons of all shapes and sizes. At the end of the war, he was invited to complete his studies at the Mage Academy in Havengard, which he accepted. He adjusted his studies to become a mage knight due to his weapon conjuration technique. After graduating, he joined the Mage Guild. He quickly rose through the ranks and earned the highest honor a mage knight can ever achieve, Class S. And then Robin Ostergaard. Robin spent his younger years in Havengard. He was a lively man who had a fondness for song and a knack for poetry. Kind and gentle in nature, he was often found reading the texts of past histories. Even in his youth, he had a passion for helping others. He had a skill for wind magic, but he only used his casting to protect others, and only when he felt the situation was dire. Regardless of how infrequently he chose to cast it, it did not lessen just how powerful a mage he was. After the war's end, Robin disappeared. Many believe he may have been killed in battle. Nevertheless, Asaria chooses to remember him for the hero he is, a savior of the kingdoms. This is pretty interesting. I can see why the heroes are so respected. So just in case you don't remember or you didn't follow early access, you will meet Robin later. I continue browsing the exhibit until I've seen all there is to see. I'm ready to call it a day. The sun is beginning to dip in the sky. I better go check on Amy and see if she's made any progress. After entering the library, I spot Amelia at a secluded table surrounded by a mountain of books. She doesn't hear me approach. Hey, Amy.
Hello.
She doesn't look up from her textbook. Did you make any progress? Finally, she looks up at me.
Yes, I did.
She gestures to the books around her.
All of these texts include data on the 100 floating isles. I have spent the afternoon gathering and analyzing all of that information.
Wait, did you say floating isles? Amy blinks.
Yes.
As in, they're hovering in the air.
Yes.
You don't seem surprised by this.
Of course not. The islands float due to the magical dispersion in this area. This is a natural phenomenon which has been around since the time of the ancients.
Do people live on these islands?
No, it is not logical nor conducive for habitation. Most of the islands are far too small for colonization, and those which are large enough to hold a small population are not suited for civilization. But because they have been mostly untouched, the Isles are still one of the most beautiful natural wonders of Asaria.
Okay, but if no one lives on the Isles, then why are you studying them?
It is highly likely that the Wind Temple was built upon one of those isles. Based on my hypothesis, the temple would be built on the site of the highest concentration of energy.
Oh? Amy nods and begins to explain her scribbled notes, her scribed notes. The rest of the group slowly trickles in. Zack and Leanna arrive first, and a short while later, Kara follows.
If my calculations are correct, the temple should be located in this region.
She opens one of the books to a map and points to a cluster of islands. That's great, but we still have a problem. The islands are floating. How are we supposed to get up there?
Wind magic would solve that predicament.
Everyone focuses on Leanna.
That's true. While I can use wind magic to jump from isle to isle, It's impossible for me to manipulate enough energy to be able to float everyone. I could float myself and perhaps assist one other person.
Obviously, that second person would be him.
Zack gestures to me. Makes sense, I'm the only person who can absorb the energy.
What about the rest of us?
Don't worry, Kara. I'll bring you back some souvenirs from the temple. Kara laughs.
I appreciate that, but we should still be close by. The least we can do is keep watch.
We can set up at the edge of the first aisle and wait for their return.
Kara nods.
That sounds good to me.
There's still some distance for us to travel to reach the Isles. We can cross that distance as a group and split up from there.
Yes, but tomorrow. It's already growing dark, so we should rest tonight.
Let's go find an inn then.
Once in agreement, we help Amy clean up and then return to the streets. Now that the sun has set, the cold seeps through my clothes and chills my skin. A shiver crawls down my spine. Leanna blows on her hands.
The change in temperature is really apparent without the sun.
Amy glances at Leanna.
If you are cold, perhaps we should inquire whether the Flushed Mermaid has any rooms. Their rooms are more luxurious than the inns we may be used to, but there is a fireplace in each room. I do believe they provide heat stones we may request to slip in our beds, should the blankets be insufficient. Plus, their hot springs are open for guest usage.
Kara perks up.
Did you just say hot springs?
Yes, that is,
You had me at hot springs. Let's go there.
She begins to push Amy in a random direction.
this is the incorrect way. The inn is towards the west.
Oops. To the west.
Kara hurries Amy towards the west as the rest of us follow along. Our group checks into the Flushed Mermaid. The first thing we do is make reservations for the hot springs. Fortunately, their availabilities for the men's and women's hot springs are at the same time. After we complete our reservations, we receive our keys to the rooms and go upstairs to get ready. Amy was right when she said the Flushed Mermaid had nice rooms. These are a lot more elegant and grand than any of the others we stayed in. Zack and I enter the room, and my eyes are drawn to the pale wooden dressers, gilded with clamshells and pearls. I don't actually see that here. 2 couches sit before a flickering ivory fireplace. The mantel is streaked with silver waves, with a mermaid carved at the center. Dang, why don't we always stay in rooms like this?
They're expensive.
Good point. Zack heads to his room as I find the robes and towels in my closet. Once I'm ready, I meet up with Zack and we go downstairs and make our way to the men's side of the hot springs. I step down into the pool, shivering at the first touch of heat. Zack settles across from me, enveloped in a vapor cloud. I sink even lower for the water to cover my chest. The pango plops over next to me with a small splash. After a moment, he drifts back up to the surface like a fishing bobber. The pango drifts in place, his mouth still covered underwater. A second later, he lets out a happy, bubbly noise. I smile and pat him on his head. This is nice, isn't it? The pango beams up at me. He leaps out of the pool and makes a game of jumping in and out of the water. A slow grin spreads across Zack's face.
Hey, I saw some meat inside.
Oh, so you want a round? You want a round too, huh? I grin back. Uh-oh, is the mercenary of drinking making a comeback? Zack lifts an eyebrow.
Comeback? I won last time.
As if you remember anything from that night.
Fair point.
We both grin. You know, I kinda wonder what the pango would be like drunk. Zack froze his eyebrows.
That's a strange thought to have.
I mean, theoretically speaking, could he get drunk off magical energy? I realize I no longer hear the pango splashing around. Hey, where'd he go? Zack looks around. The pango is nowhere in sight. The pango's constantly running off. Aren't you curious about where he goes?
No.
If he's not hanging around with me, he's usually with Amy. For science. Zack arches an eyebrow.
And?
We should investigate. For science! Dude, he totally went over to the girl's side.
I don't think so.
We should double check to be sure.
Nah.
Don't you want to see Kara in a towel? Zack freezes and his eyes get wide. He crosses his arms and turns away, but not before I notice the slight shade of pink in his cheeks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A slow smirk lights my face. My bad. I thought you might be interested. I mean, it's hard to resist the thought of a girl in a hot spring, right? Bouncing around, flushed skin from the heat, wearing nothing but a towel. Or maybe no towel at all. Zack quickly clears his throat.
Well, we'd be doing it for Pongo, right?
I grin. Of course.
And we're just trying to make sure the Pongo is okay. If we end up running into anything else, that isn't our intention at all.
I nod. Zack uncrosses his arms.
Then I suppose we can check this out, but only for a second.
Yes, sir. We both make our way across the hot spring, and we eventually come across a massive wooden wall. Mist puffs up from behind it. A few crystal lamps are lined overhead, but it's so dark that their golden glow can't quite penetrate it. We hear a loud splash, followed by a bunch of girlish squealing. We can't seem to make out any words. My heart rate starts to pick up. We have to make it over. I make a move for the wall, but Zack grabs my shoulder.
No, this way.
Why?
There's a darker spot over there. Less risk of being seen if a guard comes this way.
My eyes follow to the shadowy spot he's pointing at. I blink in surprise. I hadn't even noticed it before. It's a good thing I have a mercenary on my side for noble causes like this. Zack inspects the wall as if analyzing the best way over.
Boost me up.
I cut my palms together and give him a push. He jumps with one smooth motion and manages to grab the wall. I get the feeling this isn't his first time scaling a wall. From the top, he extends a hand down that I just managed to reach by jumping, and he pulls me up. When I've just about scaled the wall, we hear the footsteps and see the shadow of a guard approaching.
Get in, quick!
We dive over the other side of the wall. My heart starts racing again. Did we actually make it? So are we going to learn all about manuals this time, or how's it going to work? We both slip into the hot spring and swim over slowly so as to not make any noise or splash. Soon we hear familiar voices.
Leanna, that feels so good.
My heart leaps in my throat and I try to peek for a closer look. Zack pulls me back and points to one of the larger rock formations. His face is bright red as we swim over. I can't tell if it's from the heat or what we just heard. Leanna giggles.
Do you like that?
Yes, so much.
We settle behind the rocks and peek over to be greeted with a perfect view. It's almost as if the person who designed this hot spring knew exactly what these rocks would be used for and gave his or her blessing. Thank you, Hot Spring Architect. You're the real hero here. The first thing I see is the Pongo splashing around. That sneaky Pongo. I knew he'd ditch us for the girls.
Boy!
All right, now it's my turn to wash your back. Turn around.
Okay.
I like the sound of this. My eyes follow the voices and...
Kara!
my heart stumbles to a halt. Kara stands behind Leanna. Her arms are wrapped around Leanna with her hands resting on Leanna's breasts. That does not look like backwashing to me.
Oh,
Kara looks surprised before a feline grin slides across her face.
I was definitely not expecting that sort of reaction from a mage knight.
huh? What?
Leanna glances down, takes her a second to register what's happening, and her face goes from a sunset pink to a murderous scarlet.
Kara!
Kara laughs. Leanna squirms a little.
How could you do that?
Kara giggles and nuzzles her face between Leanna's neck and shoulder.
Are you really surprised?
Leanna twists away from her, crossing her arms to hide her chest.
You can't just...
She sputters as the words escape her. So we'll do this one for idents. This is a good day.
What?
I mean, this is a good day.
It is most perplexing that Leanna continues to claim disinterest in Kara's actions, even though her body language and audible responses are that of positive stimulation.
Amelia!
Leanna's face turns an even brighter shade of crimson.
That's not true!
Wait, what? Continues to deny Kara's advances? How many times have we missed out?
Boy?
The Pongo bobs with just his eyes above the surface, staring in our direction. His voice is bubbly and muffled from being underwater. He blinks. Oh no, can he see us?
Boy!
The Pongo jumps and lands on the rock we are hiding behind. He bounces up and down with a huge smile.
Boy! Boy!
Pongo, no. Shh!
Get your Pongo under control!
I'm trying, damn it!
What's going on?
The Pongo leaps higher and higher into the air. He reminds me of an excited little dog running up to greet you after a long day of work.
Boy! Boy!
Leanna reaches for a towel.
Is someone there?
Crap, what do we do? Nothing here but us chickens! I jerked my head up and gave it Zach. That was the most unconvincing cat sound I've ever heard. A serpent smile slides across Kara's face. She plants a hand on her hip.
Zach, is that you?
Meow?
Kara laughs out loud.
Oh, this is gold.
Dude, has that ever worked for you before in your life?
Once.
What? How is that even possible?
I realized the guy was deaf afterwards.
The Pongo bounces up and down, going crazy with happiness.
I hear more than one voice.
Leanna looks horrified. She hauls herself out of the water and wraps her towel around even tighter than around herself. Stumbling, she lunges for the pile of fluffy towels, folded off to the side, and starts cloaking them around herself. The Pongo leaps off the rock and straight into my arms.
Boy! Boy!
I let out a deep, deep exhale. The gig is up. I stand and Zach begrudgingly does the same. The Pongo leaps onto my shoulder and snuggles against my cheek.
Boy! Boy!
Aw man, he's so sweet, how could I stay angry? Or maybe because I die here tonight. Amelia cocks her head.
It is quite surprising to find you two occupying the same hot spring as us. After all, this is the woman's side, and you both are men.
My face goes hot. What? It is? We're obviously lost. Kara giggles.
What a terrible excuse.
Leanna has somehow successfully swaddled herself in at least 10 towels. She reminds me of a fluffy marshmallow.
You guys!
One of the towels falls over her face. She huffs and shoves it back.
You guys can't just come over here.
Kara winks.
Yeah, if you wanted to hang out, you should have just said so.
Huh?
Kara grabs her arms and yanks us out of the bushes. Really? Leanna looks mortified.
What?
She grabs even more towels. I'm not sure which part of herself she's trying to cover up at this point. Kara leads us into the water and smiles.
We don't mind. Right, Amy?
Amelia barely registers Kara's comment.
The activities of the rest of the team do not concern me lest it disturbs my research.
Research? Amy nods. She lifts her hand and makes some of the water rise, shaping it into little dolphins.
Boy?
The Pongo blinks curiously. He jumps down from my shoulder and onto a small rock to investigate. She smiles and waves her hand. The tiny dolphins dive in and out of the water. The Pongo's eyes sparkle with wonder.
Boy!
She looks pleased with herself, but I have no idea what the heck she's trying to research. Kara slides in and bumps Zach with her hip, making him jump.
So, did you like what you saw earlier?
He turns away and crosses his arms, but his cheeks turn a slight pink.
I saw nothing.
Kara's smile turns wicked.
Oh, really? What a shame. Well, now that you're here, you might as well make yourself useful. I need my back washed, please.
But Leanna already did.
I thought you didn't see anything.
Zach shuts up and his face becomes red. Kara grins and hands him a loofah. She swims over to the side so she can prep herself up and relax as she sets Zach to work. I swim to one of the edges. With the Pongo and Amy having fun and Zach and Kara doing their own business, there's only one person left. Hey, where did Leanna go? Huh? I turn around, but there's nothing there except for a giant pile of towels as tall as a human. This girl. Leanna? Is that you under there?
No.
The towels shiver a bit at what I'm guessing is Leanna shifting around from underneath. Why are you buried under all of those towels?
It's just very cold out here.
Cold?
Yes,
In the hot springs?
that's right.
If you're uncomfortable, I can go. I can leave if you want. I swear I can feel Leanna's searing blush through all these mountains of towels.
That's not... I mean...
She takes a deep breath, then the layer of towels slowly start to drop off until there is only one left. She comes over and takes a seat on the edge of the spring, letting her legs dangle in the water. Her face is still flushed, and I have a feeling it's not just from the heat. You know, all things considered, I think your wolfskin armor is more revealing than this. Leanna blinks at me, then she laughs.
You might be right.
Although I do have a confession. She looks at me curiously.
What is it?
Even with the stack of towels, I saw something just now that I didn't see when you were wearing that other outfit. Your ankles. Leanna bursts out laughing.
Oh no! How embarrassing! I feel so exposed!
She laughs again and the tension from before eases. We continue to chat for a while longer. Kara continues to tease Zack, who stubbornly pretends not to notice, and Amy conjures little tricks in the water to the delight of the pango. Once it gets close to the end of our reservation time, Zack and I slip back to the men's hot springs so we don't end up in trouble. After our time is up in the hot springs, we change back into our clothes and meet at the Flush Mermaid's Inn to have a late-night snack. We gather around a mother-of-pearl table flecked with bits of coral. The chairs here are more comfortable than the ones I've gotten used to. The servers bring us each a scoop of ice cream. Leanna grins and digs in.
Wow, this is delicious!
What kind do you have?
Chocolate.
Kara's expression turns wicked.
Looks good. Mind if I try?
Leanna smiles.
Not at all.
She goes to slide over her bowl, but instead Kara moves in on the spoon of ice cream that Leanna's holding and eats directly from it.
Kara!
Yep, you're right. It's delicious.
Kara giggles and winks. Zack stares at the scene. Kara seems to feel a stare because she turns to face him.
What's wrong? Want me to lick yours, too?
Zack chokes on his ice cream as his face becomes completely red.
Oh, wait, never mind. We both got the same flavor.
She grins deviously.
I'm glad we have the same tastes.
Zack mumbles something incoherent. After we're done with our snack, we all decide to turn in for the night. We make our way towards the staircase to our bedrooms. On our way upstairs, Zack spots a fancy vase.
Hey, Leanna. What's that?
Leanna looks.
What? You mean that...
She suddenly pauses. Pink creeps into her cheeks.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you just said. What is that?
She frowns.
It's Two Faces.
I let out a low groan. Not this again. Kara and Amelia blink in confusion.
Leanna, is it not clear that the object to which Zack is referring is a vase?
I know what I saw.
Zack smirks triumphantly as Leanna crosses her arms and pouts. Kara looks from Zack to Leanna, then shakes her head.
I'm not even going to ask.
Good call. That's for the best. We hike up the stairs and separate into our rooms.
Oi!
I glance down. Huh? You want to stay with us, Pango? The Pango perks up.
Oi, boy!
I open the door a little wider and he bounces into the room. The wind howls outside and I automatically step closer to the fireplace. So real quick, isn't this the wrong room? Didn't Amy say something about slipping hot stones into our bed if we're cold? But Zack has already rolled away from me. By his heavy breathing I can tell he is already asleep. I feel pretty relaxed too. I suppose that's the thing about hot springs. It helps you relax and get a good night's sleep. I crawl into my bed where the sheets are smooth and welcoming. The Pango snuggles up next to me under the blankets. My eyelids feel heavy and in only a few minutes I find myself drifting off into a deep sleep.